Gaelic football on Off the Ball.
With AIB, proud sponsors of the GAA Senior Football Championship. Check out #TheToughest for more.
All right, a big all weekend ahead in the Football Championship. Round 2 of the qualifiers. Roscommon, Clare, Kildare, Mayo on Saturday, and then Limerick against Cork, Donegal against Armagh on Sunday. The former Kerry footballer Tommy Walsh is on the line. Evening, Tommy.
Hi Nathan, how are you?
I'm not too bad. Looking at the former Kerry so far this year, Tommy, you picked a bad year to step away, it looks like.
Yeah, look, they seem to be going pretty well. Obviously, the league was very positive, and they've had two pretty convincing wins so far. So it's so far so good, and you know you can't really pick a time when it is right to go. I think you know, I just felt it was my time. Obviously, I'd love to be still inside there playing with the lads, but you know, it was the right time for me to go. I felt the body was creaking a bit, right. So yeah, unfortunately for me, it was just my time to go.
You'd what, 15, 16 years at real top level elite sport. How are you handling that not being part of your day-to-day life during the summer?
Yeah, I'm enjoying it, to be honest. There's obviously a lot more free time, and I can kind of get stuck into a lot of things that I want to do that I probably wouldn't have been able to do because of the time that sport took up. But look, you miss, obviously, there's parts of it that you miss as well. Particularly around the game days, as I said, you'd love to be getting out there again with the lads, but you know, there's certain things that I don't miss as well. But yeah, enjoying the bit of extra free time. And
when you talk about the body creaking, is that on match day? Is that after every session that there's a lot more recuperation needed?
I think so. Yeah, normally around match day, because you've probably tapered a bit into the game, so the body's probably feeling fine. It's just trying to get through the week to week, and you need to be able to do that in order to be ready for the game. So I just found, you know, particularly the last couple of years, it was just getting harder and harder to stay on the field and, you know, to get your body in a position to be ready to perform on match day. So yeah, as I said, look, the game is becoming more physical each year. There's more demands on the player. So yeah, I could just see some of the guys inside there, and I was probably not getting to balls that I probably would have been able to get a few years ago. And you know, it kind of comes on you slowly. But yeah, look, as I said, it was my time, and I felt it was just you know, better for everyone if I stepped away last year.
It's something that every sportsman has to go through at some stage during their career. How frustrating is it when you're not getting to those balls that a decade ago just all came easy to you? Yeah,
it's pretty frustrating. No, you do pick up other things probably in your old age that you wouldn't have had when you were a bit younger. But you know, it does get frustrating, and you know, but it's just part of it, as you say. It comes with age as you get a bit older. You know, the body just isn't able to do things that it probably would have done when I was back in my mid to early 20s. But yeah, as I said, that's part of it, and it happens to everybody. And again, yeah, last year was my last year, which is fine. You know, I'm happy enough now on the other side of the fence.
It must still be a bit of a wrench when you look at the talent that is in that Kerry squad right now, because it's a team that looks destined to win, you know, several All-Irelands over the next few years, particularly with the amount of attacking talent that is there. Talk to us about Clifford and, you know, his arrival on and how he's progressed over the last couple of years.
Yeah, look, obviously he's a very special talent, and you know, I was probably lucky to get the chance to go back in over the past 3 years and see him up close. You know, he's obviously a very solid guy. He's a good head on his shoulders, and he seems to be dealing with the pressure that's been put upon him pretty well. You know, he's performed each year. You know, that All-Ireland medal has evaded him and the team so far, but as you say, I'm sure it's not too far away, and hopefully it's this year. And I'm sure once the first one comes, that you know, there'll be a few more pretty quickly after. Yeah, but he's just a special talent. He probably sees things and able to do things that a lot of other players aren't able to do, and that's what makes him so special.
When you talk about, you know, the physicality of the game now as well, like, he's so well able to handle himself. He's, you know, the perfect epitome of a modern day footballer in terms of his shape, in terms of being able to take on a tackle and handle whatever's thrown at him. It doesn't feel like he's anywhere near reaching even his potential yet. Like, we could well be talking about the greatest of all time here. I know you got to go into Kerry mode now and sort of talk it down a little bit, but like, that's you played with Gooch, you played with the players who were in that conversation. Like, Clifford is very much there already.
Yeah, look, I think he's probably a long way down the road towards that. But he's as you say, he's probably has a lot to develop too. I think each of the years that I was in there with him, you could see that he had progressed physically. He's actually quite a big guy when you're standing beside him. I'd say he's 6'3", if not 6'4". And he's probably developed his fitness, his strength over the past couple of years, and he's still only in his early 20s, so you can only imagine where he could actually get to if he kept along that path. But there's obviously been a lot of great players around Ireland and from Kerry as well. And one of the things about being a very, very good player is being able to do it for 10 to 15 years, which is and it's still all ahead of him, and I'm sure that will come. But he and the rest of the team, they need to get that first win under their belt. And as I said, I'm sure once they get that first win, there'll be a few more to follow.
Were you a man for putting the arm around the shoulder and telling them, listen, I was the young superstar at one stage. Here's how it's all going to pan out. Here's what to do. Here's what to avoid.
Yeah, probably what to avoid in a certain to a certain extent. But or no, not really. Look, they're all, as I said, not just David Clifford, but most of the young guys in there. They've all really, really good heads on their shoulders, and they're pretty well balanced guys. They know what they have to do. They work really, really hard to get to where they want to get to. So you were just trying to when you were talking to them, just to try and give them little tips here and there, and but it didn't really take much. And I think they're in a really good place at the moment. They've some really good young talent with a little bit of experience there as well, and I think they would have learned a lot over the past couple of years. There was obviously huge disappointment, so hopefully they can bring that experience into the games upcoming, because they're obviously going to be a lot higher intensity than what they've gone through throughout the Munster Championship. So I think we weren't far away over the past couple of years, and it's just going to take that 1 or 2 little extra percent that will get them over the line.
So if you want to go down the punditry route, Tommy, you're going to have to put your neck on the line from time to time. We'd like to clip it up, and a little bit of clickbait going on after this. You have to pick one then on your team. Are you going with Clifford or Gooch?
Yeah, that's a tough one. At the moment I'll go with Gooch, but when it's all said and done, David won't be far off him. But I played some of my best years with Gooch. He was an unbelievable talent. As I said, he was able to see and do things that you could just never even imagine. And he obviously did it for a long time. Really long career, plenty of medals, plenty of All-Stars. So at the moment, I'll go with Gooch. My opinion might change in 10 years' time. Just
before we get on to this weekend, I did want to ask you, I don't know if you saw the video that came out of Australia of Zach Tuohy and the dubbing the sort of leprechaun accent over, and a lot of people are outraged at it and the stereotypes of Ireland, and I suppose they're sort of taking the piss out of Zach Tuohy as well, and the presenters roaring around laughing. And whether it's something you look at and think you're not surprised about, or you were quite shocked about considering your experiences in Australia.
No, I wasn't really surprised about it. It's something, when you're inside a kind of a dressing room atmosphere like that, they can take the piss out of you basically for any point of difference. So I remember things like that would have happened to me as well. But
right.
I don't think Zach would be too bothered by it. He's pretty he's well able to deal with those things. And obviously, look, it's not nice. You don't want to see things like that. I think it was kind of in bad taste. And there was nothing really malicious in it, but I just think that was it. It was a bad taste. I don't think Zach would be getting too excited about it, or any other Irish people there either. And I'm sure the press over there might learn a bit from that instance and maybe back off in the future.
Yeah, you don't think it's emblematic of a greater anti-Irishness or anything like that?
Not really. Look, I was always very well treated over there, and I think that the Irish people over there in general were always well received. So I don't think it's anything like that. I think it was, it was just a really, really bad joke. And I think there's, over there they obviously do find their accents funny, but I think there's places around the world that find the Australian accent pretty funny as well. So, as I said, it was just a bad joke. But I don't think anybody should be, taking major offence to it.
We're all looking forward to Kerry against Dublin in the All-Ireland semi-final, and sort of forgetting about the fact that there's a quarter-final to come for both of them before then. When you look at the 8 teams that are left this weekend in round 2 of the qualifiers, from a Kerry point of view, which of them would you want to avoid in an All-Ireland quarter-final?
Look, Look, I think Armagh are going to be, Armagh or Donegal, whoever gets through that game, are going to be a really tough team to face. I think, Armagh are probably playing a bit more of an expansive game, so they might be able to hurt Kerry a bit more. It would probably be a bit tighter if they were playing Donegal, but I think either of those teams, once they get to the quarterfinal, having come through the games that they would have played, will be in a really good place. And I suppose that's probably the worry for Kerry, that you might be facing a team that's gone through a couple of really, really tough championship games, whereas Kerry probably haven't. And that's no disrespect to Cork or Limerick that they've played, but they've just been that bit above them, and it's just trying to manage that. There's been a bit of a gap, I suppose, between the Munster final and when they will play the quarter final, and it's just trying to make sure that you've the work put in, the games played, the football under the belt, to make sure that when you go into the quarter final that you're up to the same.
Would that have been a worry internally, Tommy? When you think back through your career, you would have had a couple of years like this where it just wasn't happening for the other teams in Munster, and Kerry get through to the knockout stages with some big victories, and then other teams are coming through qualifiers week on week, building momentum. The week before that sort of game, you're thinking, like, are we battle hardened enough here that you're not quite sure what's coming for you on the Sunday?
Yeah, I think it would be, because it's only natural, because when you're sitting at home on the couch on the weekends and you're seeing all these games being played and all these teams getting through these really close battles, and you're only training, and while the training might be intense, it's still not reflective of a championship game. So it is hard to know, and it's always a worry, and no matter how well you're going in training, you'll always talk about what the other team has gone through, and that you're going to need to be up to that championship pace in order to compete with them. And look, it's gone against Kerry in the past. I know from my own experience back in 2009, which seems like a long time ago now, but we got beaten early in the Munster Championship and came through the qualifiers, and by the time we got to the quarterfinals, we were in a really good place because we'd had a couple of really, really tough games under our belt. So there's the preferred route is obviously to win your provincial championship and move forward that way, but I think the teams that do come through the qualifiers will be in a very good place as well.
That victory for Armagh against Tyrone, it really felt like a landmark win for Ciarán McGeeney, even if he's nearly 8 years in the job at this stage, and there's a real wave of momentum, but now they need to back it up, and that's another challenge. Like the team he's put together there, both on the pitch and behind the scenes, like Tuohy seems to be having a big impact. Do you look at Armagh as All-Ireland contenders, or is getting to an All-Ireland quarter-final, getting to a semi-final, is that probably their limit?
I think I wouldn't say that's their limit. No, I think that they're certainly capable. They probably need a bit of luck, and obviously, look, they haven't been that far down the road before, so they probably need a little bit to go their way. But they're certainly playing a really good style of football, and their performance in the Ulster Championship is probably something that they would have been very disappointed with. So to get the Tyrone win out of the way and to be looking forward now to an All-Ireland series is something that's very positive for them, and I'm sure they'll be looking at it and with a real eye on progressing as far as possible. It mightn't happen, but they have a very big challenge of getting over Donegal, because obviously that's going to be a very tight game with the way that Donegal's set up. But I'm sure if they can get through that, their confidence will be sky high, and they'll be looking a lot further than the quarter final.
It does feel very hard to judge where Donegal are, because they beat Armagh convincingly in the Ulster quarter final, but it was such a horror show in the latter stages of the Ulster final, and they've been hammered for not going for it, for being so defensive, for not taking any risks at all, and they were punished by Derry in that. As a player, it must be so frustrating not to be able to express yourself, and when you lose, it just looks so bad. For Donegal to try and bounce back from that, it looks like a real leveller from where they were 6 weeks ago when they met last time out.
Yeah, and look, I think there's been a lot of talk probably about different teams' tactics, but I wouldn't necessarily have a massive problem with a team setting up that way, because that's the way they feel they're going to be successful. And you would look at players like Michael Murphy, and people have been talking for 10 years about the fact that they'd love to see them cycle forward more, but the way they play is to have him a bit further out the field, kind of orchestrating things a bit more, and look, he's one of the best players around at doing that as well. But you certainly would love to see them probably have a bit more of a cut, but the way they have set up over the past while, that has been successful for them. It's just a case of, is that going to take you all the way? history will probably tell you it won't, but because they're probably the only team to play that way and really go all the way back in 2012. So look, I they might have something up their sleeve for Armagh. Obviously Armagh are a bit more open and a bit more expensive than Donegal would be. But who knows? They might feel that they might do things a bit different to try and open up Armagh going the other way.
Nobody seems quite sure where Mayo are at the moment. They got the job done against Monaghan, but very wasteful in front of goal. They went 20 minutes at one stage without scoring. We don't have a Newbridge or nowhere. It's in Croke Park, and I was listening to Donny Vaughan talk about how much the Mayo players love playing in Croke Park, that everything about it seems to suit their game. And Kildare are trying to bounce back from what ended up in a bit of a humiliation again against the Dubs. What can Kildare do differently from that game that could really test Mayo on Saturday?
Obviously the goals. If you concede 4 or 5 goals in a half football, you're not going to do. You're obviously not doing yourself any favours. Mayo mightn't have the same firepower that Dublin have, but I think with Mayo, a lot of it is just matching their physicality. They're obviously a tough dogged team. They always seem to stay in games, even if they're not performing to their capabilities. And whatever it is about them, as you say, they do seem to love playing in Croke Park. They've obviously fell short on the final step a couple of times, but generally when they go there, they perform really well. So I think it's going to be a tough battle for Kildare. I do see Mayo coming through that, but again, if Kildare can get a bit of a bounce back, and I'm sure they're pretty hurt after what was a poor performance against Dublin. So if they can rise to the occasion, match Mayo's physicality, they might be in with a shout as well.
And where do you stand on where Mayo are? Back to back All Irelands, and certainly have aspirations again this year, but just seem to be lacking a little bit of cohesion. Again, that game against Monaghan on home soil, they should have been out of sight. Is it a confidence thing? Is it a personnel thing? What do you put down that Mayo aren't firing in all cylinders right now? They're obviously on the road a long time. There's guys that have on that team that have been through huge disappointments. And it's probably hard to get up for every single game. When they lost their game in the Connacht Championship, they're probably thinking, here we go again. It's such a long road back. But even winning a game and playing poorly isn't necessarily the worst thing. You go back, there's more stuff to analyse than there would be if everything had gone right. So I'm sure they'll have been doing a lot of work over the past couple of weeks to. I think they've had a bit of a break as well. They had a bit of a break before that Monaghan game, so they probably have a good bank of training done. As I said previously, when they get into Croke Park, that's kind of when they start to get going. So they always seem to be thereabouts. So I'm sure this year will be no different. Whether they go all the way or not, there'll be plenty of excitement with them, which is which nearly happens every year. Yeah, just on the other two games, Limerick against Cork, for either of those sides, getting to an All-Ireland quarter-final will probably meet their ambitions for the year?
Yeah, look, I think, Limerick, despite what happened to them against Kerry, it's obviously been a very successful year for them to get them into Division 2. I think they've made huge strides. I even remember playing them at challenge games back a couple of years ago, and you could see that there was something there. They're quite a physical team, but we're just probably missing a bit of finesse up front. But look, I think they'll playing against Cork, I think it'll be a close enough game, and I think if they can get into a quarter final, it'll be a huge achievement for them. Cork probably have there's obviously a lot going on this year with players falling out with injury and different things. So I don't think either of them will probably be looking past that qualifier game, but. Whoever gets through, it'll be a good year for them, and I'm sure they'd have a crack off whoever they get in the quarterfinal as well.
The other game then is Roscommon against Clare, and the quarterfinal draw is going to be fascinating because with Dublin and Kerry on the one side, Roscommon and Clare are two teams that would think Galway, Derry, if we got one of them in the All-Ireland quarter-final, we'd have a real good opportunity actually to get to an All-Ireland semi-final and see where it takes us from there. They're two sides who always feel like they've been on the cusp of something for the last few years. Yeah, I agree. I think they'll both fancy their chances on the weekend.
as you say, if they do get through, they'll I'm sure they'll be looking at a quarterfinal draw and feel that they have a right chance. But you can't really look past the qualifier games because you can get caught. Roscommon will probably be favourites, but no Clare, no Mulls either. So they made a Meath team look quite ordinary last weekend. So again, I think it'll be a close game, and that game along with the Cork Limerick game probably won't be the highlights of the weekend, but that won't bother them. All they want to do is get through to the last days. All
right, Tommy, great stuff.
Thanks, Nathan. Cheers.
Tommy Walsh there. He was with us tonight to celebrate the launch of Guinness 00's GAA campaign. Yours for the taking now with Guinness 00. 100% Guinness, 0% alcohol. More social occasions off the GAA pitch are yours for the taking. Guinness, proud partner of Croke Park Stadium, and the GAA is hosting midweek social events in GAA communities throughout the championship, as well as All-Ireland final preview brunches ahead of both the hurling and football finals. Check out twitter.com/Guinness Ireland for more information on tickets to these events, and we're going to have lots more information on those over the next few weeks. We're going to be touring the country, and we're going to be popping up all over the place, so we'll have lots more on that over the next little while. All our Gaelic football and off the ball in partnership with AIB, proud sponsors of the GAA Senior Football Championship. You can check out #the toughest for more.
Gaelic football on Off the Ball
with AIB, proud sponsors of the GAA Senior Football Championship. Check out #the toughest for more.